Like my wife was my first first person I actually had sex with. I was an abused child. That didn't count, right? And that was just a short period of time here and there. If it wasn't for the deep state, that I probably would have just went from that marriage to the next without having sex with anyone but my next wife. Right? That's who they are, man. They're disgusting, piggish people. Legion of demons. But they walk around like creme de la creme and the socialites of society. But yet some are in gangs and are in other types of lives. So yes, they can make you trip over your own feet, and they know it. They've been practicing that since junior high or elementary school. So like when a girl, gets raped, molested or raped, sometimes it's the other girls that were jealous or angry at her that caused it to happen. Right? Men are part of it also. Thank you, Larry. So it was interesting to see that in there. They're not going to be able to tie your shoes, but it would be as if they tied your shoes together. So again, going to doctors, they psyop you away from being able to get to doctors. But they also use metaphysics. They'll use metaphysics first, and if metaphysics don't work, they'll psyop you. So they're out there destroying healthcare. And Trump's destroying healthcare. Well, you know what? When Reagan created the healthcare thing for immigrants, because again, they brought that up, it's a whole different world. Again, if a program begins to get abused, obviously, the millions and millions, I guess the billions, if not trillions of dollars we wasted on the immigrants, it's insane. Absolutely insane. But I'm sure there was kickback everywhere. There is a reasonable program that we could fashion where all that could exist. But because it was abused, it's going by the wayside. Right. Just today, they messed up one of my Amazon orders. They willed something, and they got messed up. They know it. They laugh. I still got it. Well, you'll still get it in hell, too. Oh, but I go to church. I got my eyes, crossed my T's. Made a deal with God. Really? 100%. And actually, everybody else is a sinner. I made sure of it by willing it, right? But yeah, that's what the actual New Testament says. Stuff like that's going on. How they corruptly use the evil eye and that kind of thing. But it's more of a science than Judaism initially explained. A metaphysical science. Thank you, Larry. They don't come out and say it because deep state would attack them. Right. Boy, hey, good today again. It's just amazing. I got to get that cabinet out of my van and into the back. I forgot I had to do that today. Kind of cut the grass and then kind of chilled out a little too much. Right. Then the day went away. The winter, the days get shorter. So, right. And it's a little cooler up here than it is in Pittsburgh, and a lot cooler than it is in other areas. Say Kansas. But I'm just tickled. I got actually a real living room, a dining nook. It's not that bad size. Laundry room, 2 bathrooms. The bathtub's a little small, so maybe it's a hint from my shame I gotta lose weight. I'm trying to get a weed whacker. I might not. I don't know. Black & Decker sells a cordless with a deck. So I got this steep section over here. They didn't grade it real well. And they're in a hurry. They're trying to get these things in before winter. And it's just really hard to cut. And I'm going to have to use a weed whacker, but I'm wondering if I can use one of those weed whacker mowers because it's lighter. Like when I take the mower that I have and try to trim it, it starts tipping. This one I could kind of manhandle because it's a lightweight mower deck, just a string trimmer with a mower deck. Now the one from Hart didn't work. All right. This one looks like it works. I'm looking at the video. They look pretty good. It looks like it's a little beefier. I could purchase a corded one. I've used corded ones before. They might be more powerful and everything. The price ends up being about the same because I have to order $20. Yeah, it's like $29 for a 100-foot cord. So, well, the price I can get it for, I found it a cheap price for it. Half price. I found it half price. The cordless Black & Decker mower trimmer. But I don't know if I want to pull the trigger on that one. Because I really probably don't have to do it for the winter, but I'd rather it look nice, So I might just do it. I have to get that loan. I wonder if I get that loan without getting a license. Maybe I shall contact them and see if they'll give me the loan. I'll just get the loan now and see, because the rates look like they were pretty good. Even though my credit isn't as high as it was. It's guaranteed. Credit Karma guaranteed it with the $50. They pay you $50 if they don't give it to you. So, and again, if I don't have my license, it may not count. They may say, "Well, you didn't qualify because you don't have a license." Although this new address is on my credit report, so maybe it'll work. So I have to do that prayer. We'll do the prayers tonight. Yeah, it's just going to make sense to just knock off, because the problem is I moved in here and I got a lot I got to do, right? So it just makes sense to pay it all off, pay the extra fee, and that's it. Over 2 years or 3 years, right? So I can at least get forward and get moving on, right? Get to the next thing. Well, yeah, and it's the different living in an apartment. They're just dark and dingy, most of them. Right. This one has got, quite a few windows, so that's nice. And just keep cooking today. I mean, it's Hashem. Hashem did it. He was able to manifest it here in Butler County. Well, because I got a gas range. Cooking on gas range is just like, it's phenomenal. Right. I was enjoying the cooking. I'm like, a little electric. I hate the electric. Made some spaghetti. I had the fake burger meat. I made spaghetti yesterday. I'm making noodles and like diced tomatoes. Kind of a instead of nachos, I'm using pasta. Like kind of a fake chorizo, vegetarian chorizo with diced tomatoes and some spices and some I use yogurt instead of sour cream. Greek yogurt. That was delicious. I've been pigging out on that too much. I gotta get moving. I gotta start walking. I mean, I feel like my body's actually for once healing, but it's not perfect, and I am 61 at this point. So they drugged me. I'm almost positive. I know they drugged me, but I mean the poor health part of it. Spycraft murder. They don't want you to go to doctors because I'm almost sure it showed up on some blood tests as some screwy liver enzymes and screwy other stuff. And then you go back to the doctor and it goes away because they know they're monitoring your life. So when I call my brother and say, oh, they know, oh shit, we got to stop because you're going to get retested blood test. Right. The worst of the worst, man. They'll go to hell. think they're going to get out of hell because they own churches and own synagogues and everything else, Hindu temples and everything. No, you own them. They're not gods. There's no doubt that your religious societies are not gods. And many of you actually know that. And think some of you don't even believe in God. That's how bad it is. They're actually humanists that took over the church. Even humanism. All right. Skyfall against them all. Do a real warrants Trump. Trump shouldn't have started that King thing because they're using it. I mean, it's not really that effective. They're using it against him in Colombia and other places, right? Yeah. Yeah, Virginia's probably going to the Democrats. You really didn't run a. I mean, maybe a small chance for Republicans, but you didn't run a campaign. You didn't run a campaign to actually take the midterms or even this terms, the quarter terms, right? You're just kind of being snotty. I don't get it. Other than somebody that you have double agents in your midst. And the way you're supposed to do it is you wait for, so what was the first case? What was the first case? Was Letitia James the first case? Yes, yeah. Like you could run Letitia James and Bolton and then you stop. But again, you have all the government employee cases, right? So again, it's probably going to end up that they're going to find issue with the prosecutions. Well, then you wasted all that time and effort. Well, because you're developed before they even get to the trial phase at all, like hearings before the trial. You've already developed a pattern and practice of retaliation. Well, that's big in court, right? No, it's going to be worse than what's her name? What's her name? Cannon. It's going to be worse than Cannon. It's going to happen. What I mean, it's going to happen faster. Right. It's going to implode faster. Actually, like I said, it wasn't. Like I was figuring that Harris was going to end it all. And maybe pardon Trump or something like that. That's what I was thinking was going to happen. But if she would have followed through in the bipartisan thing we were building, right? Right. Well, for the sake of the nation, to move on bipartisan, we get rid of all of that bullshit and get forward of it, right? Trump was never going to jail. I'll tell you that. The system works a certain way. They don't want to set that precedence because they're all hiding from something. Right. I agree. Yeah, the use of the tear gas, I understand it. I mean, I recommended some of that stuff, but I'm just not sure if you don't. Again, you got to control it a little bit. The places you're deploying it, and I know you're not picking it there, and it could be a setup. That's what you got to find out too. Are you being set up to deploy tear gas in places they can use against you, places and times? Right. Well, okay, they confronted you. So that's, but it's still kind of a setup. Like, so they're complaining because you disrupted their Halloween party, but they're not supposed to attack you, right? So again, you have to prepare that case, right? This neighborhood decided to attack you. Now it's not everybody's fault, but again, right? There's only limited things that can be done in those situations, and deployment of tear gas is one of them. But you got to realize these people in Chicago made, some people personally made millions off of narcos, frequenting their businesses, right? They don't care about somebody else's kid growing up on drugs, dying, or becoming a trank zombie. They don't care. That's why they're not to be pedophile hunters. They never were tested. They never passed these background investigations. Right. But there are people that made money off of narcos that run out here and complain about your tear gas while they attack you. Right. They went to millions from the narcos. They might be setting you up in some of these cases. This one doesn't look like it was set up. Just kind of ignorance. They attack you and then complain about what you did to stop the attack. Right. They're not protesters when they. Okay, that's another thing you got to argue in court. They're not protesters. You are effectuating an arrest. They're not protesting. That's why they're using that term. They're assaulting federal agents in the middle of an arrest scenario. You have to say that in court. So the term protester is being used to cover a lot of different people, just like neighborhood watch. Oh, they're not stalking you, they're neighborhood watch. Right. That's all spycraft. Well, minutes before the scheduled start of now an annual Halloween parade, you shouldn't be attacking ICE officers or Border Patrol. Right. I haven't seen anybody with a weapon. Well, I mean, they just come up with these nonsense standards. Right. Because they sit online in bullshit chat rooms run by narcos all day. I mean, those that were made rich by narcos. Right. Well, blame him on the Biden administration. We all told them to keep it under control. I gave them advice on how to bring them all in and get them to work. But I said, if they don't work, there's no reason for them to be here. Now, you'll say, well, these people are working. Well, there's too many here. Okay, you have to understand, that's an arrest scenario. You don't get to do that. That's unlawful what you did to the agents. So in your mind, they should do nothing, let it get further out of control, and then something fisticuffs happen. And that should happen. And then you won't have a problem with that, right? Because they waited. Right. What's their training? To detect that it's going to be needed. Right. And again, how close in were you? You don't have to strike the officer to be in an inappropriate zone. In fact, those people are trained on how to trigger the tear gas by entering those unlawful zones. But yeah, I believe you're being played by the whistle people. Right. I agree. Well, I had to get through the article to find out exactly how it unfolded. And then I realized that the neighbors all joined the whistle people. Right. And the whistle people have training on how to trigger the tear gas and all that kind of stuff. Right. I mean, I explained the little village. And to these people, they want to talk about it being this, almost like a fishing village in Mexico. Right. This quaint little fishing village. It's where the Sinaloa cartel peddles their narcotics and sex traffics and all that. And again, there's the whole location is organized crime and racketeering. That's how it's run. The whole location. There's a who is it? They talk about the no-go zones. That's a no-go zone. Little village or whatever it's called. That's I call it Little Sinaloa. That's a no-go zone. It's being run like that, right? Because they pay people off. But it's not a no-go zone anymore, and that's what you don't like. And then they're not going to pay you your $1 million. Right. What I think this is kind of a rich neighborhood or something. Right. Right. And somebody was employing some undocumented workers that were, at least one was wanted. I think 2 were taken and arrested. They're not protesters. This is the point. No, that's an assault. What they're doing. It's not something that it successfully prosecutes, so it doesn't get prosecuted that often. That's assault. What they're doing. It's assaulting a federal officer. Impeding a federal officer is also considered assault. Face it, you blow whistles at somebody trying to effectuate an arrest, you're altering that arrest with a negative intention, with a criminal intention. So again, you're not protesters, you're criminals. And you're in a database, I'll tell you that. Right. You better be if you're not, but I'm sure many of you are in databases. With all the evidence. Just because they don't prosecute it today doesn't mean they're not. It's like I told you, they let people go. It doesn't mean that the crime wasn't committed. It's just, they got to, count their blessings and, strategize the operation. There are felons that were let go after being held for 6 hours. It's not prosecuted because you're all lunatics. But those crimes were committed. Right. And in a change of venue, you would probably be prosecuted, all of you. Or all of them. Right. Well, you sold out to the... Look, I've lived in Overland Park. I mean, there's money there. And that's Narcoville. You ain't fooling me. You're not fooling me. It's Narcoville and sex traffickingville. Right. Oh, we got these big houses and we're society. We go to church. Trying to share this here. Where's my ex? Is my wife dead? My ex-wife. She's showing up in the mind a little bit, but I'm in Pennsylvania, so that could be why. No, we're not. We never should have been married. I saved her. She had a better life because of me. I mean, I think she was heading for suicide when I saved her. Right. And Marlene, my mother, she gets credit also. And so does Senator Hines. Oops, I got him. He's not as powerful as us Moors. No, Senator Hines got, man. I don't know if it's physical or metaphysical, but he wasn't deep state. Hines was not deep state. Right. Well, a lot of people were part of rescuing that woman. Senator Hines was part of it. Thanks, Larry. In fact, they make my ketchup, don't they? The only ones that make that no salt ketchup. At least I think it's Heinz. Let me see here. Where's my ketchup? Might be wrong. No, I'm right. It's Heinz. No salt added. All right, so now we're upset with myself. obstruction of justice, and assault on federal officer. Prepare that legal argument for the courtroom. And then we also, in that argument, we need three sizes of argument. Beginning with a basic summary, moving successively into greater detail. There should be, it has to be some sort of court cases we could use on that. So there has to be some case law. My back. I'm missing one of my keys here. Let me try this one. This one worked over there. So get this one out. Pop it in here. That was a good move. Oh wait, that's not the right one. All right, this one here. Engaged. And beginning with a basic summary, moving successfully into. Where do I need this? I need to do something. So for a legal argument for the courtroom, we need three sizes of arguments beginning with a basic summary, moving successively into right here. Backspace it there. Into greater detail. To case law to vary depth. I'm sure I can more possible. Just like a boilerplate. Boilerplate. Okay. It's actually one more. This is two more. Oh, copy. Let's go. DHS. So the idea is, if it's not plausible, again, in this type of operation, there's so many people that we're charging with crimes. There's only so many that we can actually charge and prosecute in any given moment, right, or even in the future. So again, that does not mean that they're not committing the crime. And of course, the environment there, you'd have to go through a whole, you actually need a change of venue, but I don't know if the judges will cooperate. But you have to start making these arguments, right? Because they're not protesters. It's bullshit. Just like their neighborhood watch when they're stalking people for narcos and mafia and all that type of thing. That's one of the scams they're running today. But everybody's okay with it because you get paid millions over your lifetime for it, right? I gotta drop some take back this stuff off. It's already passed. Right? Wait, what's that? What date is? I know it's in. Wait, what date is it? Oh, it's yesterday. Oh. But it's voodoo and psyop and all that. That's why you have to actually attack it with argument, right? The right type of work, and prepare it now like a broiler plate. All right. No, it's all impeding a federal officer. See, there's different laws, and actually, immigration officers have additional law that involves obstruction and impeding, right? But there's an overall statute, assault on federal officer, that includes impeding. It's considered an assault. Again, similar to obstruction with violence, obstruction without violence, or resisting with violence, resisting without violence, but not exactly. Right. Oh. Thank you, Larry. I guess I got to put the towel in there. Well, he's kind of doing his thing, but well, he's pretty busy with his stuff. It's usually when the cabinet level, right, works on these. He's a little more operational per se. I mean, you're all involved. Right? Because FBI is involved in that now, right? One of the things you have to do is when you're talking to the judge, offer up additional argument. Say, Your Honor, I'm going to summarize this topic. If at any given time when I'm finished here, you want to have more information, I can give you more information. Right. So don't let the judge play you if the judge is playing. Because they'll say, a lot of times they'll say, the argument was insufficient. Well, Your Honor, I got more information if you want more information. Right. But you don't want to belabor the issue and piss the judge off either. Right. Yeah, I'd be a good judge. I mean, I'd be a good, actually, Smolkin and I probably always fighting, but we'd agree on like basic ideas. But we'd always be arguing, probably. If I was in his court as an attorney. But that's the kind of thing Smolkin expects. Right. He's still around anywhere. I don't even know if he's alive. Right. More in depth.
Department of Homeland Security.
Oh, I was Homeland Security. I meant to put it on justice. Yeah. What is justice? Oh, it's the DEA HQ one, I guess. I'll give it to Blondie. Well, that's where failure in the argument begins. I'm not saying that your argument's incompetent, but what they're doing is calling people protesters, and again, I think you call them paid protesters to kind of make a point, but no, they're actually impeding and obstructing, and there is an assault on federal officer. And also explain that, Your Honor, we can only prosecute so many cases. These people are felons. Right. And of course, the venue is not friendly to this argument, which doesn't mean that they're not felons. Right. All right. Small would tell you you're right. Right. But well, these kids are parroting what their parents told them to say. Right. Because again, they're walking around through their homes telling their kids. No, there's a whole organized crime and racketeering entity that revolves around the immigrant community. Again, no-go zones and all sorts of weird stuff like that. They're not going to stop. And again, there are Americans that are now part of this thing that they won't stop sex trafficking. They won't stop narcotics distribution because it's not their kids and they're making money off it. The narcos come to their laundry service and they pay big money and leave big tips, knowing that they're buying into the community. They go to the car dealership. I buy some shitty used van. They buy the expensive vehicle. Me, they say "foo you." Them, they say "yes sir," "no sir," "yes ma'am," "no ma'am." Right? Because you all sold out. That's why. Thanks, Larry. Again, I may have done it. There's agents and officers that would do it different, but it doesn't mean that it didn't need to get done. And doesn't need to get done. We need to reduce these numbers. Once we get to the other side of it, then the immigrants will have a better life also. Right now, it's kind of hairy for them because they could get deported. But at a certain point, there's going to be a decrease in deportation. I don't know when that is. Right? And then the programs will free up again. I mean, it's just disgusting the amount of money they spent. Right? And there was no accountability. I mean, these immigrants, they don't care. They'll work and then get their, whatever they can get from the government. They don't care. Right? They're not paying. A lot of them aren't paying their taxes anyway. No, it's a sure thing that the increase in narcotics distribution, the increase in narcotics use in the United States is emanating from immigrant effort. There's no doubt. And part of the problem is that nobody will make that phone call. And the other part of the problem is when you make the phone call, the officer turns you into the narco and gets $100,000 in unmarked bills. Agreed. Agreed. I think it was wrong. A bunch of sellouts, a bunch of traitors. But you can craft your lives with spycraft and craft everybody else's lives with spycraft to support the lie.
Marty Ward and defendant LaSalle Simmons were conducting an undercover heroin transaction on the 3rd floor. Detective Sergeant Gary Childs broke down in tears this morning as he listened to the graphic tape recording of the death of his partner, undercover narcotics detective Marty Ward. The jury heard the tape made from a hidden microphone on Ward's body in its entirety. Because of the violently explicit and profane nature of the recording, we have edited what happened last December 3rd as police and drug enforcement agents knocked down the door and raided the Candy Kitchen in West Baltimore. Marty Ward and defendant LaSalle Simmons were conducting an undercover heroin transaction on the 3rd floor.
Now, that was before I went to Baltimore. But when I went to the academy, they spent a long time on that. You actually had to listen to that tape and listen to it. And what they did is I think, what did we do? I think you had to you had to close your eyes. Again, I didn't see anything. I was asleep. I didn't know what we were supposed to do, what was supposed to happen. Right. But that's actually one of the most important aspects of professional responsibility. Now, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody always, not almost. Every single person who's ever been a cop has been a lie of professional responsibility. But again, there's that give and take within that enforcement of that. Right. But that's why you don't go corrupt. And again, there's different levels of corruption. I mean, we're to the level of organized crime and racketeering and law enforcement. Working with the narcos and killing the good people. Right? See if I can, did it actually share or not share? Share it. Yeah. All right, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.